sides reaching a ceasefire agreement just hours earlier. And it comes as conflicting reports are happening over the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. As we begin with a Fox News alert. President Trump visiting Camp David this weekend as his envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are in Switzerland right now for negotiations on a peace deal with Iran. And criticism is growing over that memorandum of understanding. President Trump reminding the world on Truth Social this morning that the Iranian military has been defeated, including its Navy and its Air Force. Our Bill Melugin is live from the White House for us with the latest developments. Hi, Bill.
Aisha, good afternoon to you. As you mentioned, we are getting some conflicting reports as to what exactly is going on in the Strait of Hormuz right now. The Iranian military announced just a short time ago that they have closed the strait over what they say are violations of the ceasefire. They're now warning ships don't go near that area, but CENTCOM is pushing back, saying that vessel traffic through the strait today so far has been flowing smoothly. In the meantime, as you mentioned, President Trump's envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, are both on the ground in Switzerland as I speak to you right now. Vice President J.D. Vance said on Fox and Friends earlier this morning he does plan to join them in the coming days and that the memorandum of understanding is already having an impact.
As you guys know, one of the things the president has set us out to do as a high priority is to open the straits. That's now happened. We actually got 16 million barrels of oil out of the Straits of Hormuz yesterday. That is a record going back to even before the conflict started.
Now, President Trump is spending the weekend and Father's Day up at Camp David. That's where he's been active on Truth Social today. And he's also been defending against criticism of that MOU he signed with Iran, saying comparisons to the deal that the Obama administration signed with Iran are just flat out wrong.
He didn't damage their Navy or destroy their Air Force. I destroyed the Air Force. I destroyed their anti-aircraft weapons. That's why we were flying over there totally unimpeded. We turned off all the stealth. They couldn't do a damn thing. He didn't do any of that stuff. He didn't kill their leadership. I did twice, 2.5 times to be exact. He didn't do anything to Soleimani. I killed Soleimani.
And Aisha, back to that claim from Iran that the Strait of Hormuz is closed. That is coming from the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and our colleague, Jennifer Griffin, getting some information from a senior U.S. defense official who's pushing back against that, saying Iran can't close the strait because they don't control it right now. The U.S. controls it. CENTCOM also announcing that so far today, 55 ships have gotten through the Strait of Hormuz. They say that is equal. That has come out to about 17 million barrels of oil moving through that strait. So from the U.S. perspective, things are moving smoothly over there.
Okay, Bill Melugin live at the White House for us. Bill, thank you very much. So we are watching this fragile truce between Hezbollah and Israel as the two go back and forth with deadly attacks despite being under that ceasefire right now. Let's bring in former Defense Secretary Mark Esper with more information about this. Secretary, great to see you. So Israel is responding to Hezbollah. Again, the ceasefire seems to be off. But the U.S. and Iran, they've got this 60-day clock that is ticking. And the vice president says that he's going to be heading to Switzerland in a couple of days here. How likely is it that you see this Lebanon issue, the Hezbollah and Israel fighting, how likely is it that you see this potentially upending these U.S.-Iran talks?
Yeah, I've said since last week that this would be the issue going forward, was the what was imposed upon Israel under this deal. And it was talked about a ceasefire, yet 2 or 3 times now since the deal was inked, whether it was Sunday or Wednesday, Hezbollah has first violated it, and then Israel responded. So I think we cannot deny Israel the right of self-defense. And there's been a lot of pressure put on Israel. I would like to see Iran and the international community put pressure on Hezbollah to follow the deal. Nonetheless, I think this will continue to be the matter going forward over the next several weeks and couple months. There's also another part that we haven't discussed, and that is the withdrawal of Israel from Lebanon. Of course, Iran expects that to happen. It's not in the deal, but it's going to be another issue that will crop up at times as well.
Well, there's been a lot of tough talk from Washington, from the president and from the vice president, J.D. Vance, just this week. He was in the briefing room talking about Israel. Here is President Trump. If we can go to this call for first. This is the president on Israel and how Bibi Netanyahu has to listen to him. Let's listen here in this soundbite.
I'm saying that if other countries have them, it's a little bit unfair for them not to have some. A ballistic missile is not the same thing as what we're talking about when we talk nuclear. But if Saudi Arabia and Qatar and they all have some, I would say in relative proportion, I think it's okay.
Okay, that wasn't the right soundbite, sir, but he basically says they have a lot of respect for me. They do as I say. How do you see this relationship right now in this moment?
I think the overarching issues are twofold. One is Iran and Hezbollah, and by the way, it's other proxies, Hamas and the Houthis and the Iraqi militias, Shia militias, present an existential threat to Israel. That is known from Bibi Netanyahu all the way down to every Israeli. And so that's number one, is they see the issue far differently than what we see the issue. The second thing is political, and it's inverted in Israel. You have 60 to 70%, if not more, of the people support continued Israeli military action against Iran, and certainly Hezbollah, because of what they've done in northern Israel, southern Lebanon. So in the United States, those numbers are reversed. You got 60 to 70% of the American people don't support the conflict. And then on top of that, of course, or as part and parcel of that, is Israel has elections coming up in the fall, and Bibi Netanyahu is on the ticket. So that all those things are factors here that Israel and Bibi Netanyahu face that we don't necessarily.
Okay, I want to talk about the Straits because there's a lot of conflicting reports right now. Just in the last hour here, Iran says the Straits of Hormuz are closed, but a U.S. Senior defense official says that is not true. It can't be true because Iran doesn't control the Strait of Hormuz. That is international waters. This is Vice President J.D. Vance. He was on Fox and Friends this morning pushing back on that reporting, too, that Iran has closed the strait here. Let's listen here.
We got 16 million barrels out of the Strait of Hormuz in just the last 24 hours. That is basically to where it was before the war even started. And so that suggests that the straits really are open. We're not seeing any evidence that the Iranians are still closing down the Strait of Hormuz. It is going to take some time to clear those mines, though.
How do you see this issue? I mean, we have to demine the straits because we can't have the free-flowing traffic that we did before this conflict started without demining the strait. But how do we do that if Iran keeps going back on its word and starts perhaps firing at ships? We don't know that they're doing that right now, but they could.
Yeah, that's the challenge, is they can continue to threaten shipping. And as long as they have a threat and they act on it, they're going to scare away the insurance companies. They're going to scare away the ship's captains. They're going to scare away the ship's owners, and they're going to scare away the crews. So if they do that, then that's going to continue. That will once again constrict the strait. Look, it's good that those many ships got out, 55 ships, according to CENTCOM. Of course, the pre-war average was around 135 to 150. So we want to see that creep back up over time. But as long as Iran has the means to threaten and then does do what they did today and threaten the strait, that can constrict and impair traffic. So we'll see what happens. It may take time for the Iranians to transmit orders down to their units on the actual Strait of Hormuz. But I think we'll know more in the next few hours what happens. And then we'll see whether or not the Iranians truly show up in Switzerland tomorrow to begin talks.
And as they begin talks, one thing that has gotten some skepticism from Capitol Hill, especially Republicans, is Iran's ballistic missiles program. There is concern that this is not going to be part of these talks. The president has said that he's going to leave this out of the deal because he can't seem to think how it's going to be fair to let countries like Saudi Arabia and others have ballistic missile programs and not Iran. Should Iran be able to have a missiles program?
Look, I don't think so. I think they are an international pariah. They've been on the state sponsor of terrorism for the United States for decades. They're recognized as such across the region and globally, and they've demonstrated the willingness and capability of using ballistic missiles against others in the region. And when I say ballistic missiles, we should include in there rockets and drones and other things. So they've shown in the past that they will not use or retain those weapons responsibly. So I would love to see us get rid of the weapons, ballistic missiles. I'd also like to see curtailment of support for the proxies and any number of things. So I wish that was on the table, that we would get there, particularly with the amount of incentives that were put into the MOU. I think those would have been very important elements of the agreement.
Okay. Secretary Mark Esper, always great to have you. Such an honor to talk to you. We'll see you next time. Thank you, sir.